We're at an interesting time in the treatment of mental health and substance abuse. One of the most potent, most interesting arenas and this time is the use of plant medicine, psychedelics, and what used to be really illicit drugs in the treatment of mental health and substance abuse conditions. I find it so ironic, like MDMA, which commonly known as ecstasy or Molly, kids, including me, prior to getting sober, were running around, dancing on this stuff, man. And it was like, and I felt bad about it. I was like, I shouldn't be taking this stuff, it's bad for me. But man, it just felt so good because, when you take ecstasy, you take, Molly or whatever, you would feel like loving. It's like you feel love. And so on the one hand, it's a drug, you know what I mean? On the other hand, it's like, but it feels like love. And so it's an interesting time now. They're bringing that, what used to be a street drug in to give people the experience of feeling love as a way to heal. And that's all MDMA does. So they, like MAPS right now, I think they're in their third clinical trial, but you can legally use MDMA currently in the United States for treatment of trauma. The study they did was on veterans with PTSD, and MDMA was by far the most powerful treatment that they found for treating complex PTSD for veterans. I don't recall the exact statistics, you could look them up, but it was something like 70% of people that did the pre-therapy sessions, the MDMA session, and the follow-up sessions, so I think it's like total of 5 sessions, totaling 10 hours, because the MDMA session I think is 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6. They no longer met criteria for PTSD. 10 hours. You know how hard it is to treat PTSD? I've tried to help people. I have a treatment program, with PTSD. It's incredibly difficult. It takes years and years. And that MDMA could, within, a couple of weeks or a week or, however long it takes to do that many sessions, you don't meet criteria for it anymore. And what's happening in that experience? There's some technical, interesting stuff happening with the brain and the amygdala, so you don't feel so defensive and you're able to be in your body and feel comfortable and feel safe. So that's interesting. But, I was a kid. I took ecstasy when I was 15 years old, and I remember the feeling. It was love. So I could produce a feeling of love that actually heals my PTSD, with another person that's there holding the container for me in a therapeutic way. So, I find that very exciting. I'm conservative about all of this stuff because I just know human beings find great ways to fuck things up. We can take a good thing and really fuck it up, So on the one hand, I'm involved in the discourse and the conversation about these medicines coming into recovery, which is really tricky. What does it mean to be in recovery but possibly use MDMA for trauma treatment? I actually don't think it'll be as complicated as it sounds, but it will be a little bit complicated. And MDMA can be addictive, although it's not many people's drug of choice. You can definitely overdo it, and there are risk factors to doing too much MDMA, largely around serotonin and serotonin syndrome, probably others that we're not even aware of. And I'm excited about combining a drug like MDMA with therapy at the same time. Because recently, I would say the last 60 years, those two fields have been kind of split. You go to see a psychiatrist, you ask, for the medication. They don't give you the medication and then you do therapy. They just give you the medication and hopefully you're on your way. You go to a therapist, they're doing therapy with you. So something people aren't talking about is some of the plant medicine MDMA stuff is bringing those things together. You do the medication, you do the therapy on the medication. Kind of cool. So it's bringing it's bringing two somewhat distinct fields together in a particular act for the sake of healing, which I think is really cool. So I'm excited about it. I'm always conservative. I'm always like, hey, slow down. Let's be careful. Setting, maturity, adulthood. Who can this work for? Who can't this work for? There's a lot to talk about with it. But in general, I think it's really worth people knowing because these are experiences that can help people heal and transform.